All right, here we go. We have actor Kahlil Kain in the house.
What's happening, y'all?
Hey, man, huge fan.
Thanks.
Obviously, I saw Juice in the theaters. Incredible film. Still a classic to this day.
Yeah.
Still a classic to this day, and you had one of the main roles in it. So let's go ahead and get into all that. But before we actually talk about the movie, your dad is actually Kahlil Kain from The Last Poets.
Yes. Well, he's one of the original Last Poets. It was Kahlil Kain, Felipe Luciano, and David Nelson. Abiodun, some of the other cats came in after. So yeah. There's definitely a legacy there also, culturally,
Right.
so to speak.
Right, and The Last Poets, were kind of the precursors to rappers in a way.
Yeah, without a doubt. It was an interesting childhood, kind of traveling around a little bit. There was a space uptown called the East Wind that he had that was very similar to, like the Shrine, Femi Kuti. So there were a lot of people that came through there, Panthers would be up in there, Young Lords would be up in there, Gil Scott-Heron was up in there, Amiri Baraka, all people would come up and just get up and perform. Ntozake Shange, so hearing these kinds of things at a very young age was something that kind of I've been carrying around in my back pocket for all these years.
Well, yeah, I feel that along with Gil Scott-Heron, the Last Poets were sort of like the main voices, the main musical voices, for social change during that era.
Yeah, I don't know. With Pops, I think it was more a matter of self-expression. Even now, I think it's important for people to kind of find their voice. With the advent of social media, I think everybody kind of feels like they have the freedom to have a voice, but with everybody watching, now I think we sort of, censor ourselves a little more because there's such a big audience, because so many people are watching on a daily basis. So I think back then there was a lot less self-censorship, and it was a way for a young man, speaking of my father, speaking of somebody like Felipe Luciano, who I still know very well, to get it off, say what was burning in their gut, and say it to people that were really listening and about it,
No, absolutely. And your mom is actually Chinese.
She's half Chinese, yeah.
Half Chinese.
Yeah,
okay,
so
half black, half
my
Chinese.
grandfather, Lam Kui, yeah, he's Cantonese. He was. Man lived to 100,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was in these days, in the Barack Obama era, and with what's happening today in society, a mixed kid is very common, but back then it was a little bit more rare.
I don't know. I think that's a myth, perpetuated by a government that wants to keep the races separated. One of the things I noticed, I grew up in New York City. When I moved to Los Angeles, and I lived in Los Angeles for quite some time, it was one of the most segregated cities I had ever lived in, having grown up like in the East Village of Manhattan. So it was shocking to me how it was separated by income, it was separated by race, it was separated by sort of position and job. If you're living in Los Angeles and you're not in the industry in any way, you're kind of a pariah. It's weird, like what do we have to talk about, Whereas growing up in New York, everybody did everything. So it was a little bit of a different way of socializing. And even back then when I was a kid, I knew plenty of mixed kids. Again, growing up in the East Village, on my block alone, there was Ukrainian kids, Puerto Rican kids, black kids, white kids, Italian kids, Irish kids, it was mixed, you know. Bobby Walsh, one of my best friends when I was a kid, his mother was Italian, his father was Irish, and to both of their families, that he was a mixed kid.
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually live in both places these days, but I mean, the one thing that I think New York has that like a place like LA doesn't have is that everybody in New York takes the train.
Yeah.
So you're kind of forced to be around
I took
everybody.
the train here today.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas in LA, there is public transportation, but not really.
Yeah, but again, there's segregation and judgment. If somebody saw me on the subway in LA, like there would be an intervention. They would be like, "Oh, what's up? You all right, bro? You all right?" You know, I'm like, "Come on, man, calm down. Everything's cool."
So before Juice, you had no acting experience.
Not really. I had done a few commercials. You know, I was just kind of banging around the city, doing odd jobs, waiting tables, bartending, bike messengering, like stuff. You know, kind of making money, however, you know, hustling. Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you want to audition for Juice?
I had booked like 3 national commercials in a row. Wasn't something that was particularly a goal of mine, but after having done that, the agency that I did it through asked me if I was interested in doing some legit work. When they asked me that question, I didn't really know what legit work meant, but I said, yeah, why not? Because it sounded like work. That means a check, you know? So I was like, yeah, all right, cool, sounds good. Next thing you know, they started sending me out on auditions for movies, TV shows, things like that. I think it was 3-4 months before I booked Juice, I was doing extra work on New Jack City.
Yeah, another classic.
Yeah.
Another classic right there. So I guess before they chose the 4 of you guys as like the core group in Juice, they had like, I guess, had you guys go out to dinner and see that, you know, how you guys kind of clicked up and so forth, something like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think doing that stint of extra work on New Jack City helped my situation out a lot. At the time, I was friends with Alan Payne, who played G Money. Wesley Snipes used to come into the bar that I worked at all the time, so I was really friendly with Wes. So going on the set helped me see that, like, you know, cats are doing it, like it's getting done for real. It didn't seem like a pipe dream to me. So when I went in for the auditions for Juice and got called back, it felt like a reality. It felt like this is happening. So acknowledge it and be about it. And then having Tupac Shakur in the room auditioning, because they were having us all sort of read together. That kid was after it. Like you could tell he was booking this job regardless. So I really think to this day, like if I had not had Tupac in the room, I might not have gotten that job, because I felt like I had to kind of top this dude if I wanted to be in this movie, because he was bringing it. You know, I was like, all right, cool, let's get in, and we just got after it. You know.
Right. Well, because I mean, Tupac actually had actor training from high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he was doing Shakespeare and everything else.
Well, it
like
was
that.
obvious when we were auditioning that he had a firm grasp on what he was doing. And it wasn't like he was auditioning for the role of Bishop. They did something really kind of sneaky. They had us all reading all 4 of the roles. So to this day, I don't think I've ever had an audition process like this. It went on for like 6 weeks. But it was also low-key a rehearsal process. By the time the 4 guys that got that job got it, they knew everything. You know, they knew all the roles, so the ins and outs, and had already come up with their own ideas of, you know, what the lives of these other characters was about and how it affected them, because we had done that in the room. And yeah, I think Jermaine Hopkins, who played Steele, he also had experience. He had done Lean on Me and was really great in it. Before that, Omar Epps was at LaGuardia Performing Arts, so he was studying and ready to go. I was probably the only one that didn't have that sort of experience in the room, but at the same time, I was the oldest. So I had a certain level of confidence and maturity about me and life experience that none of them had yet.
How old were you when you
I
were
was
shooting
27.
Juice?
Yeah,
You were
Tupac
27
Tupac used to call me
playing a
Old Man.
teenager.
That was my nickname on the set, Old Man, because all of them, I think Pac was 19, Omar was 18, and Jermaine was 18, I think, 17 or 18.
Wow, you were 27 with
Yeah.
just a baby, with a baby face, basically.
Yeah, still.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out the timeline here. When Tupac was filming Juice, was his first album already out or no?
Nah, it was done though. It was pretty much done. He was polishing it up.
Okay, so Tupacalypse Now was about to drop.
Yeah.
So I guess you were saying that while you guys were auditioning, Pac was like, yo, this time next year I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop my album, I'm gonna blow up.
I had never heard anybody say something that bombastic at the time and like seriously mean it. I remember him saying it and me telling him to shut the fuck up. I was like, shut up, bro. Like, stop. But he did it. So, you know, yeah, it was pretty amazing to watch him do what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys start filming. And did you guys know what you had early on?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, even now, looking back on it, I don't think the screenplay to Juice was that great. I looked at it and thought, all right, cool. There was nothing that jumped out at me. I think it was more who they chose, how he got down, how Ernest Dickerson told the story, and the timing of the story. I think the thing from an urban standpoint that sets Juice apart is and why people hold on to it is because it's not about criminals. It's not about thugs or gang members or drug dealers. It was about kids. It was like about a crew that like grew up together and was on the same block and watched each other's back, really. These were just kids. And that's a fact to this day. You know, in any hood in America, like these kids are right on the edge. They are like one bad decision away from death, 20 years in prison, like their life being essentially destroyed by, one bad choice,
Right, because you mentioned Ernest Dickerson. This was his writing and directorial debut.
Yeah,
So
but
this
Ern
was
was
not-
ready, man. He had been working with Spike as his DP for a few years at that point. Ernest was ready to go.
Yeah, man. So you guys start filming this thing. It starts coming together. And I guess there was a situation where someone had stolen some jewelry out of Tupac's trailer or something like that?
Pac, I just had a conversation with a producer that I'm working with. We're shooting a film in Atlanta right now. And she always wants to mentor people and bring the next so-and-so up. Like, you can't help everybody. You can't mentor everybody. Everybody's not your brother, you know what I mean? But Pac felt that way. He was like, if I have $5, I'm giving away $2. I'm grabbing this young dude and putting him up on game. I'm gonna hug this cat that I see on the corner and see what's up with him. Like, he was really kind of about it. I grew up in New York City, I knew what Uptown was about, and I wasn't showing love that way at that point. And yeah, he invited the wrong kid into the trailer to hang out, and the kid stole some jewelry and got his ass beat. He got stomped out, those are the rules. But at the time, I wasn't working. I had already been shot and killed off, but I took this chick up to the set, just to kind of show her what was going on. And yeah, when we got up to the top of the hill, they were stomping this kid out. And she thought they were filming a movie. I was like, yo, come here. I had to take her off to the side. Yeah. Yeah, we were uptown, man. We were feeling very alive at the moment. And to be honest, you don't know until you know. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but once I did get on the set, I loved it. To this day, I love making films. But I don't think I realized what a hit we were gonna have until the first time I listened to the soundtrack. They handed me a cassette, and we popped it in, and we were like, oh shit, here we go. This is real. I still have a gold record on my wall from that soundtrack. Yeah.
I guess you guys were all living in the same apartment building during the shooting?
Nah,
of the film?
I was from here, so I used to
Okay.
have to travel to work. Omar was staying at a spot, you know, he was feeling himself. I guess he felt like he wanted to get out of the house. I forget where he was living at the time, but, you know, they put him up someplace. Pac had a hotel, and Jermaine had a hotel in the same spot. Excuse me. And it was what it was, man. Pac had been waiting for this moment for a while. I think in his mind, he always saw himself sort of becoming a superstar. Whereas somebody like myself, I've never been sort of interested or comfortable with the idea of being famous, but I've always been famous to a certain extent without even trying. I mean, my family moved around so much that I was always kind of the new kid anywhere we went, and I didn't look like everybody else, so I kind of stood out. And then just sort of natural progression of things that have happened in my life have sort of pushed me, you know, into the lights. But Pac, man, he had a plan. He was very intentional about it. So he was causing a ruckus in wherever he went. So sometimes it was fun hanging out with him, sometimes not so much fun.
Well, I guess there was a situation where someone was shooting at him off the roof or something like that?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think
when
the
we
guy who
were
played
filming
Steel had
Juice,
mentioned it.
during the filming of Juice.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah, well, we were uptown, man, and it was the early '90s. There was gunfire kind of on a regular basis up there.
I mean, outside of the whole jewelry stealing incident, what do you think was the craziest thing that you know saw hanging out with Pac during that time?
Just, I don't know, man. I'm really good at sitting down. Like, I know when to shut it down. I know when to rest and recharge. Like, that was a cat who never stopped. Like, he constantly was doing something. If he wasn't studying, he was writing. If he wasn't writing, he was in the studio. He was on the phone. Like, he was one of the first dudes I ever saw that had that big-ass block phone, you know.
The brick phone.
Yeah, you know, constantly working. I remember lunch. Him and Tretch would from Naughty by Nature would exchange rhyme books and critique each other's work during lunch, and I thought that was probably one of the most fly things that I witnessed while we were on the set. Just looking back in hindsight, and with the history of hip hop as it stands today, little did I know that two of the heavyweights were kind of, you know, helping mold each other at a really sort of young part of their careers. I mean, I heard Naughty's first album before it came out, and like they were wondering, you know, what do you think? And I was like, damn, guy's about to blow up. And that summer, man, yeah. I miss the 90s, man. Like, I don't know. I remember having to save up money to buy tickets to a concert. I remember like being excited to get an album when it dropped. That's gone now, and with that being gone, like there's a whole like level of heart and spirit that's sort of yanked out of the people right now. The streets seem dead. Like they seem, there's no fire out there. Like I hear cats with their earbuds in, like whatever they're listening to, I can hear them like spitting it, and it sounds garbage. You know, like I remember, you know, seeing cats with big ass boom boxes in the 90s, and they would be spitting Rakim and like KRS-One word for word, EPMD, and you know, they sounded like kings, you know. So there's power in that. You know, I think part of why Pac is still Pac is because he empowered a whole generation of youth, young men of color that still love him today, you know, and they're playing that music for their kids, for their sons. You know, my ambition as a writer, like I would play that in my car in LA, you know, going to an audition, going to meet a new shorty, like whatever, and it would just have me amped, you know. I couldn't tell you a cut right now that I listen to that does that for me. Is there one you got? That can,
I think some of the stuff from Kendrick and J. Cole kind of give me that feeling.
Yeah. Kendrick, for sure. But I feel like it's sort of derivative, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, for example, Rakim's Know the Ledge is my favorite Rakim song.
Look, man, I love it. I can walk into a club right now and you know, and a DJ will throw that on when they see me, and it's such respect. Like if I could tell the DJs and the people out there at the clubs right now, know that anybody who's ever done that for me, I love you. Like, mad respect. It's so fire when that happens. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and that was essentially the song, you know, because I went and rewatched the movie this morning, and you know, I had forgotten that was the song that opens the movie up.
But back then we had music videos. So before the film dropped, you know, I'm watching MTV Raps or the other one that was on BT. I can't remember. There were two rap video shows that were on BT. And I remember seeing that video was out before the movie came out. So the soundtrack dropped, I think, 3 weeks before the movie came out. You know, the streets were amped, man. They were ready to go. When the movie came out, it was a wrap.
You said something really interesting. You said that Bishop introduced Pac to Tupac.
There's a lot that goes on in the life of a young black male in this country. And Pac's childhood was tumultuous. But at the same time, he was well educated, well versed in the culture of black revolutionaries in this country. And it's one thing to be versed, it's another thing to sort of be indoctrinated by fire. And once he did Bishop, like, he had to kind of make some choices. You know, it was already in him, but are you gonna turn the volume up, or are you gonna turn the volume down on your own spirit? And these are questions that all of us have to ask, I think, on a regular basis. And generally, being a civilized being in one of the greatest countries in the world, so to speak, especially if you work in corporate America, the choice generally and the decision is to turn the volume down, just so that you can sort of function and be and sort of scoot up that little ladder. But I think the people that we find to be magical in this world are the people that are willing, able, and brave enough to turn that volume up to 10, you know, and say, fuck it. And that's definitely what Pac was all about, I think.
No, definitely. And you know, Juice was such a, I mean, was it the first, like, kind of movie that really gave hip-hop figures, you know, a place? You know, because I guess New Jack City was coming out right around the same time, but like,
yeah,
I started going through all the little cameo appearances, and it's like, you know, outside of course Tupac, you know, there is Queen Latifah. Was that her acting debut?
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Queen Latifah was in it. She went on to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
You know, and is now a mainstay on television, and movies as well. Fab Five Freddy was in it. Dr. Dre and Ed Lover were in it. EPMD had a little role in it.
Back then, I was such a big...
Special Ed was in it.
But EPMD was my group back then, man. When they came on the set, like, I wasn't the only one. Like, the crew, we were excited. It was a different time. Like, it was really about the love of hip hop and the respect. It wasn't really based on money. You know, it was really based on that last album you dropped. And when we were filming Juice, EPMD was at the top of their game. After the film dropped, Cypress Hill was on the soundtrack, and I remember bumping into them at Wetlands downtown. Went to see a show. I forget who was performing, but them and their whole crew rolled in, and a lot of guys from their crew kind of saw me and were looking at me, and I thought they were like gonna jump me or something, but they were just like, oh, that's the dude from Juice. And then Be Real and everybody, you know, and Sen came over, and you know, we hugged it out and shit. But it was great to meet them. I was a big fan of their music, but we hadn't met, but they knew me from the movie, so they came right over and we're like, yo, what's up, kid? You know, we chopped it up. I think that film, though, everybody could see that it was really about the love. It wasn't. I mean, you can look at the film and tell nobody was, you know, making a whole bunch of money to do a cameo in that picture. You know, Sam Jackson was up in there, like, you know,
Right.
chilling because of Ernest. They were good friends. You know, Ern was like, yo, can you come throw down? No problem, I got you. And that's the type of person Ernest Dickerson is. Honestly, at this point in time, I still know him. I've worked with him on a few other occasions. He could call at any time, man. I would show right up. Like, I wouldn't even question it twice. Beautiful person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as well as Cindy from En Vogue.
Yeah, we
was
were
in
all
it. Right,
mad at Omar about that. Definitely.
'cause he had all the sex scenes with it.
Yeah, we were all very salty about that. Have to admit.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
I can see why.
I just saw her recently. I saw her last year. En Vogue was performing at BB King's on 42nd, and I took my mom. And we went backstage and said what's up, took some pictures. She looks amazing, bro. She's like yoga down, like her body is just like crazy. She looked amazing. Yeah, she looked really great. They sounded great too. It was a good show.
I mean, En Vogue were one of the best singers really of all time. I mean, what they did was forget about it.
Yeah, what happened to the whole girl group thing, man? We should hook that up again. You know?
Yeah, it's
SWV, En Vogue, the whole thing.
it's too expensive, I think, in today's music climate.
Bro, there's so much money. There's so much money. Every time I hear this about it's too expensive to make a record, it's too expensive to make a movie, we don't want to pay. It's like, come on, man. There's so much money being generated right now.
I feel you.
I don't know.
So I guess there was a slightly alternate ending to Juice, where I think it was Ernest did an interview about it.
Focus groups. Paramount
Yeah,
Pictures came in. There was a focus group. They
Right.
wanted, you know, they didn't want the bad guy to go out on his own terms.
Right, because in the alternate ending, you know, Omar Epps is holding Tupac, you know, off the ledge, and Tupac hears sirens, and he's like, nah, they're not gonna, I'm not going to jail over this, and he purposely lets go so he could die. Whereas in the traditional, in the ending that was used in the movie, I guess Omar Epps just couldn't keep holding him and just let go, and Tupac didn't want to let go.
Right, he slipped away. Slipped away. I don't know, man. What do you think about focus groups?
I don't know. I mean, I've used them before in my business, and sometimes I'll learn something from them, and sometimes I'll be like, whatever, I'm going to give you all what I think you should get.
I think when it comes to art and filmmaking is art, it is an art form. Let the artists express themselves and take it from there. If everybody's having a say in what the product is, it's no longer the director's piece. It's the director's piece plus this focus group from where? Who are these people? What is their background in urban, in ghetto living, in filmmaking, in photography, in storytelling? Like, you know, come on, man. Like, I don't know. I'm not into doing that at all. As a matter of fact, whenever I'm writing or creating, I pretty much keep it to myself until it's done, and then I just share, and whatever happens, happens.
So you actually like the alternate ending better?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I mean, that was the first time I actually saw it this morning, and I'm like, yeah, it's a very Tupac way to go out.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're from or grew up in that sort of environment, that's a daily fear. Getting put in the system, getting locked up over some bullshit, for jumping the turnstile at the subway, for having a suspended license, for spitting on the street, like, bruh, for looking like some dude that they said robbed an apartment 3 blocks over. I mean, especially in New York, because it's overcrowded. If you get stuck up on Rikers Island and you don't have money for a lawyer and you're waiting on a court date, you might be there for a minute.
Yeah.
And when I say a minute, you're talking 3 years waiting on a court date, and you haven't even done anything. Like, that's craziness, man. I just did a talk at Google, and when I said that, like, everybody kind of tripped out about it. That's a fear of mine on a daily basis, going out in the world. Like, I've really sort of studied up on how to speak to police officers so that things don't get out of control, so things don't get out of hand. And I had worse situations, more so in Los Angeles than here in New York, because I was driving more. But man, like, it's real, and it is primarily for young males of color, specifically black, more so than anything else.
Right. I mean, and you guys touched on that in the movie, because when you guys were arrested by the police, I think it was Omar Epps said, and they're like, well, if you got nothing to hide, why are you so worried? And he's like, well, we're 4 black guys in a police precinct. Y'all gonna find us guilty for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't know. We don't really need to go too far into that, but that whole idea of like, nah, I'm not going to jail, that's real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things as an adult that I'm most proud of. I've never had to fight in a war. I've never had to do time, It's all good.
So I guess there was a slightly alternate ending to Juice, where I think it was Ernest did an interview about it.
Focus groups. Paramount Pictures came in. There was a focus group. They
Right.
wanted, they didn't want the bad guy to go out on his own terms.
Right, because in the alternate ending, Omar Epps is holding Tupac, off the ledge, and Tupac hears sirens, and he's like, nah, I'm not going to jail over this, and he purposely lets go so he could die. Whereas in the ending that was used in the movie, I guess Omar Epps just couldn't keep holding him and just let go, and Tupac didn't want to let go.
Right, he slipped away. Slipped away. I don't know, man. What do you think about focus groups?
I don't know. I mean, I've used them before in my business, and sometimes I'll learn something from them, and sometimes I'll be like, whatever, I'm going to give y'all what I think you should get.
I think when it comes to art and filmmaking is art, it is an art form. Let the artists express themselves and take it from there. If everybody's having a say in what the product is, it's no longer the director's piece. It's the director's piece plus this focus group from where? Who are these people? What is their background in urban, in ghetto living, in filmmaking, in photography, in storytelling? Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. I'm not into doing that at all. As a matter of fact, whenever I'm writing or creating, I pretty much keep it to myself until it's done. And then I just share, and whatever happens, happens.
So you actually like the alternate ending better?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I mean, that was the first time I actually saw it this morning, and I'm like, yeah, it's a very Tupac way to go out.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're from or grew up in that sort of environment, that's a daily fear. Getting put in the system, getting locked up over some bullshit, you know, for jumping the turnstile at the subway, you know, for having a suspended license, for spitting on the street, you know, like, bruh, for looking like some dude that they said robbed an apartment 3 blocks over. I mean, especially in New York, because it's overcrowded, if you get stuck up on Rikers Island and you don't have money for a lawyer and you're waiting on a court date, you might be there for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, and when I say a minute, you're talking 3 years waiting on a court date, and you haven't even done anything. Like, that's craziness, man. I just did a talk at Google, and when I said that, like, everybody kind of tripped out about it. That's a fear of mine on a daily basis, going out in the world. Like, I've really sort of studied up on how to speak to police officers so that things don't get out of control, so things don't get out of hand. And I had worse situations, more so in Los Angeles than here in New York, because I was driving more. But man, like, it's real, and it is primarily for young males of color, specifically black, more so than anything else.
Right. I mean, and you guys touched on that in the movie, because
Yeah.
when you guys were arrested by the police, I think it was Omar Epps said, and they're like, well, if you got nothing to hide, you know, why are you so worried? And he's like, well, we're 4 black guys in a police precinct. Y'all gonna find us guilty for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't know. We don't really need to go too far into that, but, you know, that whole idea of like, nah, I'm not going to jail, that's real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things as an adult that I'm most proud of. You know, I've never had to fight in a war. I've never had to do time, you know. It's all good.
So the movie comes out, and I mean, from my point of view, it just became an instant hit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, back then people weren't announcing, what the first week's numbers are or whatever else like they do now. But me and all my friends, we all watched it. Everyone was talking about it. You know, like I said, I watched it in the theaters. It comes out. You know, how do you feel as being one of the main characters and sort of all the love that starts to happen at that point?
Even now, doing the work that I do, if you do a film, you know, what, you work a month, 2 months on this film, and then you wrap, and then it doesn't come out for months go by, 6 months can go by, a year can go by before it comes out. It starts to feel like did you really do that? Like, you kind of forget about it, you know. Or doing a play, like, you rehearse your ass off and then go and put this play up, and it runs for 8 weeks, and it seems like a really huge part of your life. And then when the show closes 6 months later, it kind of feels like, did I really do that? Did that actually happen? We shot Juice, and then we went about our lives. And I remember going to the movies with some friends and not really thinking about it. And the trailers started, and boom, it came up in the trailers. And I was like, oh, it was probably one of the most exciting moments for me ever in my career, was sitting in that theater when the trailer for Juice came up for the first time. And all of my friends freaked out. They were like, yeah, oh shit, bro. It was crazy. It was fun, but it was really exciting. Like, it let me know for fact, like, it was real and that it was happening. It's about to go down. Things haven't been the same since. Yeah, my whole life changed.
Yeah, I mean, cause let me pull this out here and show you. Give me 1 sec here. Because even to this day, like, the Juice still gets memed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, hold on a second. I pulled out some of my favorite ones here. Hold on here. You know, like if you remember that incident between Jay-Z and Solange, right? I remember this was my favorite meme during that time.
Yo.
You know, where you had the scene where you got Omar Epps as Jay-Z and Solange as Tupac, like, you know, in the elevator.
Yeah, the internet never loses, man.
What's another one that I found here? Hold on a second. I'll read you the caption in case you can't see it. It says, when you just finished giving that one friend advice, but you know they're about to do the same thing over again.
Yeah, I've seen that one about 100 times, man.
You've seen that one 100 times.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll tell you my favorite. Let me show you my favorite right here. Hold on a second. This was the scene, the locker scene, you know, with Pac and Omar, and this is they basically overdubbed it about eating meat.
You shouldn't eat meat. You know what? The first time I heard you say that, I thought that was that God body shit. But now, you're right. I am a poison animal eater. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about food. I don't give a fuck about heart disease. I don't give a fuck about diabetes either. I don't give a fuck about health.
Oh, man.
I'll eat shit. Fuck Whole Foods. I don't give a fuck if it's a cow, it's a pig, it's a chicken, you a sheep. Pow. It's my dinner. My grandfather ate pork, and he lived to be 140. Going to McDonald's.
You ever see that one before?
Nah, never. And my girlfriend is like newly vegan. She's been a vegan for about 10 months now, almost a year. So we've had that conversation. Like,
Yeah, man. I mean, we talking coming up on almost 30 years later.
26 years, yeah, 27 years, something like that. It really goes to the performances, man. You said you watched the film yesterday or whatever. If you look and listen to that dialogue and those situations and where we were doing those scenes, and you put some trash actors in there, like, nothing's going on, man. It's really not. It goes a lot to like what Omar and Pac did and Jermaine and how they threw down. That really made, you know, it come to life, you know.
No, absolutely. So after the movie ended, did you and Pac stay in contact?
Yeah, I mean, but he was busy. He was running around a lot. He was locked up. He was, you know, in the studio. He was having shootouts and shit. Like, you know, I'm definitely not about that life, man. No, thank you. I grew up. I grew up in the city, so, you know, I lived up in the Bronx. I lived in Brownsville. Like, we moved around a lot. I've seen a lot of things, so it never made sense to me to kind of, for us to treat each other that way. Avoid it like the plague, even to this day. I let the work speak for itself. My personal life is my personal life. You know, Pac was doing it on a whole other level, and I just don't hang out like that. Never did. I did a movie with Snoop Dogg. We did this horror flick called Bones that Ernest Dickerson directed. So we were in Vancouver for 3 months, man. You know, I hung out with Snoop maybe twice when we first got out there, and I was like, you know, I'm good, man. You know, if you're walking around, at the time, Snoop had beef with Suge over something. That was when they were, I mean, Snoop had armed security, 2 big dudes strapped with him 24/7. I was like, I don't know who's looking for you. When they come, I don't want to be here. Like, I'm not, you know. I'm gonna be back in the hotel chilling. It's real in the field, man. You know, I'm an artist. Yeah. I want to go home and read a book, write, you know, snuggle with my lady. That's about it. Watch the game.
I mean, when you heard about Pac getting killed, how did you feel?
Well, when I heard about him getting shot, I wasn't that worried about it. As far as I was concerned, you know, Pac was Superman. He had been shot before. Apparently, bullets don't really harm him. So, whatever. You know, he was at the hospital. Cool. I was working. I was doing a TV show in LA, but, you know, he was out in Vegas. I could have flown out there. I really was like, he's going to pull out. He'll be fine, you know. If he ain't dead, he ain't dying. So when I found out that he passed, the TV show I was working on, Karen Parsons was starring in it, and Lori Petty. And Lori Petty was the one who told me. I was literally standing in front of the camera on my mark, about to shoot a scene, when Lori Petty popped her head up, and she, you know, she told me. She was like, yeah, your boy just passed. I was like, what? Yeah, your boy Pac. I just heard in the news, he just passed away. Turned around, we were on the Warner Brothers lot, and just walked off the set. I walked right outside, and just sat down on the floor outside and just cried my eyes out.
So you actually cried when you heard?
Oh yeah, man, I'm still heartbroken to this day. I don't really watch the movie that often because it really kind of just fucks up my spirit, you know, for a few days after that. He was a fun dude, man. Pac was really fun to hang out with. Watch the movie, you hear him laugh. His laugh was crazy. Anytime he laughed, everybody would laugh. He just had that kind of spirit. He talked a gang of shit, and like, I don't know, you know, he felt like a power source, you know, hanging out with him, you know, being around him. You kind of felt uplifted. I miss him, and I think it was a real waste that he went out like that, you know?
Yeah, well, I've covered a lot of Tupac-related people. Like damn near anyone who's really dealt with Tupac is probably interviewed on Vlad TV, from the Outlaws to everyone at Death Row to the cops involved in his case and everything. And I actually interviewed Chris Carroll, who was the Vegas first responder, who showed up, the first one to show up at the scene when Pac, you know, and Suge were shot. And he told me,
I looked at him once again, I said, what happened? Who did this? Who shot you? And now he's looking at me, so we're looking at each other in the eyes. And this is kind of the first time he's even acknowledging my presence. And he looked at me, and I could tell he was, you know, he was getting a breath together to tell me. And he looked me right in the eyes, and we looked at each other, and he said, fuck you. And he said it just like that, with the emphasis on that F to, you know, to really let me know. That's how he felt. So he said that, and right after he said it, he just kind of started, you know, started gurgling, and you could tell he was in bad shape, and his eyes, he's starting to lose consciousness then, and his eyes roll back. And as it turns out, that would be his last conscious moment and his last words.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. You know, those are the rules, man. Snitches get stitches. And word, fuck the police.
yeah.
You know, the beautiful thing about Pac was he was consistent. Yo, you know, there wasn't any wavering. And if you were part of that circle, that's how you had to get down. I was in Atlanta working once, and I hooked up with the Georgia State basketball team, the girls. So I roll up into this spot, and I got like 6 Amazons, these sisters that played for Georgia State rolling with me, and like most of them were dimes. Like we were having a ball, me and these chicks. So of course, when we walked in, it caused a little bit of a ruckus. And there were some haters in the room, man. Like, there was a lot of haterade being passed around that night. So I'm sitting there, and I go out by myself a lot. I don't get down like that. Just no problems, ain't nobody looking for me. But I could see, like, there was some things going on because I was here with these ladies, and we were having a good time. So I got up to go to the bathroom, and these cats that were at the table stopped me. Turned out, outlaws. They were like, yo, what's up? I was like, oh, what's happening, man? You know, we started rapping, and they were like, yeah, we never met you, blah. We know, Pac talked about you and this and that, and, and he had already passed. So we were like chopping it up, and they were like, you cool? Because they saw there was, a little bit of static. I was like, I'm good, man. He was like, you miss Pac? And I got a tattoo on my thigh. It's the full length of my thigh, and it's a cross. And it says Bishop right down the middle of the cross. And right there at the club, I dropped my pants down and I showed them the tattoo. They all like flipped out. They were like, oh, that's fucking dope. They were like, yo, tell these punk bitches everything's cool. You have any problems, you yell out outlaws. We'll clear this motherfucker out. Problem solved. I had a good night that night. It was beautiful, man.
Yeah, man. Outlaws are good people. Me and Edie
Yeah,
are actually
no
friends.
doubt.
Me and Edie are friends. We hang out, have dinner, like, did a bunch of interviews. Yeah, good people. Napoleon, me and him are cool. I actually managed to get all three of them together.
Oh, nice.
In one room, got them all.
Crazy.
Because at one point they were a little bit at odds,
Yeah.
I kind of helped facilitate them being cool with each other. We all, the three of them did an interview together also. So good, very good people, man. Well, you went on to do more acting work. I mean, you mentioned Bones with Snoop, but you also did Friends. You did Moesha. You did Sister.
Girlfriends.
Girlfriends.
Yeah,
For Colored Girls.
Jones, for Colored Girls. Like,
yeah.
the resume's pretty thick.
Living Single.
Yeah.
And you actually played Tiger Woods in Showtime's biopic.
Yeah.
I guess the Asian part of you managed to, help out in that regard.
Seen, man, the audition for that out in LA, because it's a small community. We all know each other. I rolled up in that audition. I had my Nike hat on, my little Nike polo slacks. I rolled up in there. They were like, damn, it's a wrap. Done and done.
Done and done. Yeah, you're getting this role.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you've continued to actually stay working.
Yeah, I'm directing a film right now in Atlanta, something called Masters. Yeah, that should be out in the fall this year,
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope, man.
Staying busy, writing plays, doing some poetry, doing some, spoken word stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it really seems like most of the cast from Juice continued to stay working, because even, like Donald Faison had a small little role in it.
Yeah.
Flex. Of course, Flex was in it, had a small role in it. Yeah, man, like all of you guys continue to keep raising the bar and keep doing it. And, it's not easy to be a working actor.
Back then, like you were talking about, these guys were trained. They were really good at what they do. Now I'm finding that like the new crop that's now coming in, Chadwick Boseman, these cats like this again are trained, and that's why they're doing the stellar work that they're doing. But with stuff just being sort of content, a lot of times the work suffers for that, and we all get painted, in that color, and I don't think that's fair. So, some of us that take it seriously are working hard and building and sort of putting stuff out that's, I don't know, pertinent, relevant. And we'll see what happens, I'm not really interested in sort of fast, ready-made art, It takes time, commitment, knowledge, wisdom. You have to at least have a point of view, come from somewhere, have something to say. And that's been lacking for a minute now. you know, and those that do, it feels like they're getting sort of pushed down by the power structure. So we'll see what happens, but little by little, it's starting to sort of come out. You know, the whole Black Panther phenomenon, that film, that's been sort of the knock as far as getting money to make films, you know, with black stars in it, is that overseas, these films don't get bought or watched. There's no money there. And that's been disproved in a huge, huge way. So I hope that, you know, the filmmakers in the black community are taking this moment seriously and are looking towards creating sort of more relevant content as opposed to just stuff, you know, stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think we just reported that Black Panther hit 1.25 billion.
Yeah, man. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, listen, Kahlil, man, appreciate you coming in.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You know, like I said, huge fan.
Thanks.
Huge fan of your work. And it always feels great to have classics under your belt.
That's luck, man. You know, luck, karma, I don't know. But I feel like I'm really just kind of getting started, you know. There's a lot to come.
Absolutely, man. Until next time.
Right on, brother.
Peace.